All right, but I'm going to let you in on some real shit here. The greatest people that you have ever observed at anything in life have mastered the monotonous tasks and do them day in and day out without fail. They do not consider the fact if it's boring, they understand what result it produces. All right? So when we talk about Michael Jordan, there's very famous stories about Michael Jordan and what he did at practice. He started with a very specific exercise, which was chest passes. Do you know what they start you doing in basketball practice when you're 5 years old? The first thing they teach you? They teach you chest passes. So you have the greatest athlete ever in this sport. Undeniably, by the way, for all you young bucks that think LeBron's even comparable, you're fucking insane. Starting his practice after 30 years of playing the game with the same drill, do you think that gets boring? Or do you think that he says, this is what I got to do to be great? All right? When we look at the greatest home run hitters of all time, or the greatest soccer players of all time, or the greatest CEOs of all time, these people are not doing different things every day. They are mastering the monotonous tasks. And the reason that people have such a hard time with success is because they're unwilling to do the boring shit at a high level over the course of time. They get to a point where they're like, oh, okay, I got this figured out. I know how to throw a chest pass. And then they're like, what's next? 360 dunks. And they get fancy with the shit and they never master anything. Okay, so when we talk about what it takes to succeed, the reason that most people can't succeed is because they get bored with the basic shit, not realizing that the way you win basketball championships is not 360 reverse dunks, it's fucking layups, okay? It's free throws. It's the most basic shit in the world. And that goes for anything. That goes for business, it goes for fitness, it goes for life. The simplest path, the boring path, is the path of getting the most results. And people can't do that because they get bored, they confuse their emotions and how they feel about the action with the actual result that it produces. And why are you doing this thing? You're doing this thing to produce a result, whatever it may be. So when we talk about it being boring, champion people don't think about boredom. They don't think, man, this is boring. They think this is what's required for me to succeed. And I think there's a big misunderstanding in society, and we can observe this by the way people behave, right? Most people get a job, they work that job for 2-3 years, they get bored with that job, and then they say, this job isn't for me. And then they go find something else. And that might even be an entrepreneur. I started a business, I'm 3 years in, it's not really working out the way I wanted to, so this must not be for me, I'm gonna start this new business. And they repeat that cycle over and over and over again, not realizing that every 3 years that they waste of time is 3 years that they're not getting back, okay? So most people waste their entire lives of this cycle. Start a thing, it gets boring, quit a thing. Start a thing, it gets boring, quit a thing. Start a thing, it gets boring, quit a thing. If you were trying to run a marathon and that was your whole entire goal at life, and every time it got a little bit hard or a little bit boring, mile 11, mile 15, mile 12, you just quit, you say, fuck it, I'm gonna start a new thing. How do you ever finish? How do you ever get there? How do you ever get paid? How do you ever be great? You can't. And this is what people are missing. The monotonous shit that you do day in and day out. And by the way, you are in control of this. Most of these monotonous tasks that create the biggest payoff in your life are so boring and so simple that people overlook them. You can control all of the elements that will create an amazing outcome for your life. It's just that people can't do it over the course of time. They can control what they drink. They can control what they eat. They can control the information that goes in their brain. They can control the way they move their body. They can control who they associate with. But they can't control those things over the course of 20 years. They can do it in short bursts. 2 weeks here, 3 weeks here before the wedding. Oh, I'm getting serious now. So they do it for 30 days, not realizing that to produce greatness and produce amazing results, that the controllables have to be controlled over the course of years, sometimes decades. All right? Greatness is not an all-you-can-eat buffet, bro. It is a very small, tiny bistro with like 10 seats in it. And you're lucky to have a place in it. And for you to have a place in it, you have to be willing to do the things that everybody else can't do. And let me tell you what they can't do. They can't stick to shit for more than the amount of time where it gets boring. So if you want to stand out and you want consistency to really work for you, you have to control the controllables without fail over the course of a long period of time, decades. And you will produce whatever it is that you want to produce. And this is the difference between people who are great and people who are not great. This is the difference between people who are fulfilled and people who are not fulfilled. This is the difference between people who have lots of money and people who have no money. It's the difference between everything, is mastering the monotonous tasks day in and day out. And if you can't do that, you're leaving your life up to chance. And let me tell you how many people get where they want to go by chance. Fucking zero. All right? So keep that in mind. Mastering the monotonous is the most important skill set that you can develop over the course of your life. And if you can realize that the basic shit, the shit that I just listed off, the things that you are in control of every single day of your life are the defining factors of greatness, you got the game figured out. So early in my business life, I had no awareness. Once I got to be about 8 to 10 years in, I started figuring a little bit out of it. Once I got to be 14, 15 years in, I figured out a little bit more. It took me till I was 36, 37 years old to really put all this together and understand that this is a game of compounding efforts, compounding inputs attached to the length of time that you do it. How do I go back and fix the first 16 years of my business career and say, damn, dude, I fucked all those away because I didn't understand the shit I understand now? How do you think I understand the shit that I understand now? The reason I understand it is because I fucked off those first 16 years. And by the way, I was pretty successful, even fucking off. So think what's happened between then and now. The amount of exponential growth that's happened from the time I figured this out until now is nearly unheard of. All right, so this is the play. And if you can figure this out, there's nothing you can't create in your life. You are in control of your outcome. Whether you want to admit that to yourself or not, that's up to you. Most people won't admit it because if once they admit it and once they say, dude, I am in control of my outcome, that means they got to get up off the couch and do a bunch of shit. Otherwise, they always feel shitty about themselves. Okay, so it's very hard to live a life where you are aware that you are in control of your outcome and then just sit there and watch it go by. That's a depressing, frustrating, aggravating existence that most people can't deal with. So what do? They stick their head in the sand and they say, luck, circumstance, fairness, and they bring up these ideas that let them off the hook for being accountable for the result that they're producing.
'Cause I'm taking the world, you'll see. They'll be calling me. They'll be calling me.